That's a greener. Joys of the shingle, I guess. Woo! Right. If you hadn't guessed, finally out at the beach. It's been ages. It's probably, I don't know, well, mackerel fishing in the summer, but out with rod and bait. Yeah, it's been a while. It's about -2, so it's not exactly warm. But good God, that sea is seriously calm. So we're going to fish the tide up tonight, and probably not going to fish it all the way up to top. We'll probably leave just a bit before we get some stuff on. But yeah, let's get some baits out, see what's about. Okay, so what we're fishing with today is a simple one up, one down rig. Just scratching for probably whiting, flounders, maybe some dabs. Standard breakaway, sort of impact lead, onto a quick release. There you go, all the way down to your first hook, and again, nothing too serious. We've got some size 1/0 on there, all the way down to another 1/0, and then again onto your swivel. And then I always tie one of these quick releases onto the end of my line, onto my leader. Again, it just means I can swap out really quick. So if I was to crack off, or to potentially have blunt hooks, or even just want to change up quick and put a new bait out, I can do that nice and quickly with that. So I'm not going to be fishing at huge range. Again, I'll just show you what we're going to be putting on the hook. It's going to be fish baits, squid baits, and maybe a little surprise, but we'll show you that in a bit. So bait wise, we're actually using that small pipe bait. Didn't have time to go and get any lug or anything. These are some old sections that I've already used once already for pike. You can tell no success on that front. So we're literally just going to be cutting these back. Now be careful with your fingers. We're going to be taking just strips off these baits. Don't need to be huge strips. Sometimes the easy way of doing it is to actually get a pair of scissors out when it's in the semi-frozen state. And we're just going to be taking some long strips. So you can cut it either across the body, like so, or alternatively how I like to do it is take a nice long piece of belly like that. And again, this is really easy to hook on. Essentially what you need to do is go in skin first, put your hook through. I take mine all the way through, and then wrap the hook back in, go back in the skin side again, and back through the flesh side and in through the skin. And then essentially, I don't know whether you can see that line then holds that mackerel in place. Now if you want to, and what I probably will do today, is you can add a bit of this as well, which is just bait elastic. It just adds to holding that bait on. We're not going to need loads. I'm just going to wrap a little bit around here. Always go up above the eye of the hook as well. And then to add to that, we're going to give it a little bit of a teaser. Again, this is just some squid. Little strip of squid. And we're just going to nick that onto the end once, twice. And that's going to be our bait. So make sure that hook's pointing out nicely so you can see that. Put that on both hooks and we'll get these out. Not going out too far. There's that fish, one short and one red long. So that one's the short one. Okay, so this next reel, I stripped all these down and gave them a good clean up. It's been a while since I've used them. I'll be honest, I didn't really clean them particularly well when I last used them, but I've got no leader on this, so I do need to get that on. You know, even with 18-pound line, I don't like fishing anything too much heavier than that. Yeah, I just can't cast this out, it will just snap. So the way I like to tie these on is by simply making a loop and passing it through as if you're going to make a normal granny knot. I then take this line, pass through the granny knot. We then pull this one tight. Then hold this just here. We wrap this yellow line up here 6 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We hold the end. We wrap it back 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then what we want to do is take this little end here and put it back through the little loop that's just in between there. So that goes back in through there, like that. Make sure you moisten it, because again, you pull this without moistening it, it's just going to break. And then we slowly tease that knot down. Just make sure that it's going in nice and neat. One final test. You should end up with a nice clean knot like that. Again, the key with this is it tapers nicely in the eye, and then we just want to trim these tag ends back. Not too close, because there might be a little bit of this to tighten up on the cast and the retrieve yet. So I always leave a bit of a tag, and I can trim these down after 2 or 3 casts. And then we want essentially enough of this to go all the way up to the end of the rod, all the way back again, and at least 3 turns around on this reel. So if I've got a 12-foot rod, I will normally pull about 26 foot of this off. And there we go, simple as that. So the other rod, we're going to put a bit of a bigger bait out. So I actually got a pennel pulley here, so we've got some 4-0 hooks. And this goes down to a bit of a different system, and these work quite differently to the scratching rigs. They're a bigger bait, so we're obviously hoping to have bigger fish, although if the whiting are about, they will nail this anyway. Essentially what we do is we attach the weight at the end. It just slips on like that, and then this is all set up so that these hooks, once they've got bait on, click into that there to hold it. And it just keeps the whole rig really streamlined. So your swivel at the top here moves up, and this is then what we attach to our main line onto our leader. So again, we just clip that on like that, and then this all stays nice and neat like that. So we'll get some bait on this. I'll show you what it looks like with some bait on, and then we'll get this one fired out. So again, for this one, what we're going to do is we're going to go with a bit of mackerel again. We're going to go in a little bit differently. So we're going to go in flesh side this time and pull that first hook out. Again, same principle, slide it all the way through, back in through the flesh side, back in through the skin side, and then what we're going to do is push this again right back up so that it goes above the eye nearly of that hook. And then we're going to get ourselves a baby squid. Wrap this over, and again, same sort of thing. So we're going to go through, pull that above the eye, and then we're just going to basically needle in and needle out all the way down, in through the head, like that. Tease that mackerel back down like so. Nice big bait. And then we're going to take our elastic again. And this is going to need a really good wrap. It's all quite soft bait, so we want to make sure we've got really good coverage with the elastic on this. Last thing we want is this flying off halfway through the cast, spreading bait everywhere, just ended up giving us a right old mess at the end of it. So we want this to be nice and streamlined, and again, a nice cocooning of the baiting elastic with this one. So like I said, I am using old bait, so it is quite soft anyway. It's already been used once in the river. I have added some extra oils, but long story short, it's soft. I just happened to be up here today, so I thought I'd bring the gear with me. And And then what we do is we take this second hook that's on the rig, and we pull that down and give it a couple of twists around the line, slide that in through this top bait, pull the hook point out, and just give that a tease. And then what it does, it leaves you with a big bait. You've got a nice sharp hook point sticking out here, and another hard sort of sharp hook point at the bottom. So theoretically, if a big fish comes in and grabs that in the middle, the top, or the bottom, all being well, you should hook it. Right, let's go bang it out. Okay, both rods are out. So I guess the first one's been out about 10 minutes. I swallow baited the second one. Not too long. Not really expecting too much action until the sun goes down, which, you know, we haven't got too much longer to go. And hopefully we should see a little bit more action. Yeah, lovely evening for it. Still tips at the moment, but I think we're going to brew on and see what develops. Okay, you may or may not be able to see the right hand rod. I've tightened 3 or 4 times now, so could be nothing. I've not seen any real rattles on it or anything, but equally it's just not holding bottom. So sometimes that can just mean there is sometimes a little fish in there that's just dislodging that weight every time. So I'm going to give it a reel in and see what we've got. What evil? Fish or no fish, this is lovely. Nothing. Well, that certainly wasn't a short cast, was it? Come on, fishies. Well, despite the fact it's freezing cold, I'm actually quite warm. There's not a lick of wind. I mean, nothing. It is still, seriously still. Saying that as well, the sea's pretty flat calm as well, which is not ideal. I have a little bit of a churn, but we've got incoming tide. You know, we're going to be fishing into darkness, so I'm going to hope that the whiting and the dabs and flounders move in probably when it gets dark, because there's no swell. You know, I don't think they're going to be too many around during the daylight hours. And again, I'm fishing fish baits. I would imagine if I'd have able to get hold of some lug or potentially some rag, you know, maybe I'd have picked 1 or 2 up by now. But I'm not fishing old fish baits. I'm purely trying to use stuff up out of the freezer. So yeah, we will see how we go. No crabs either. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. There, I think we've just had our first bite actually. Rod closest in, I'm sure, just gave a good whack. I'll keep an eye on it. Definitely a rattle. It wasn't a slow pull from a crab or anything. It was a definite rattle. Maybe it's just picked up the squid at the end and missed the hook point. That one's on the sort of 1 up 1 down rig, sort of 2 hook flapper. Oh, that's definitely a fish to me. Excellent. Let's go give her a wind in. doesn't feel weighty, so anything on there is small. Good bite though. This is the one that was cast a bit further out, so maybe the fish are just off the beach a bit. I've started to get a bit darker, so maybe that's just bringing them in. How's that? Nothing. Definitely a bite, without any doubt. Definitely a bite. Oh well. Yep. Bottom hook's been absolutely destroyed, so not sure what's going on there. Try sharpening the hooks and then back out. So, nearest rod again, it's got some really gentle little, oh there we go, look, rattles happening with it. Now, the fact that they're quite considered means it could be crabs, but that to me looks like it's probably a whiting, so let's give it a whirl, let's get it in, see what it is. As I wondered, loads of crabs. So the bite was really considered, it was just slow, just what I expected to be as a crab bite. Never mind, I'm going to space it back out and see whether the fish turn out. So, when it comes to spotting the night bites, all I do is I've got an old head torch, strap's broken on it, but the actual head torch itself works fine. So I keep that, turn it on to its lowest setting, and then as far as rods are concerned, it's got some reflective tape around the tips. Works perfectly, and the best thing is I can recharge the head torch with my battery pack that I've got with me as well. So yeah, endless supply of light to it, and much nicer than casting with those little tiny lights on the ends of your rod. Well, it's not huge. It's a little whiting. So as predicted, as soon as it got dark, the rod started bucking. So there we go. Felt a nice big piece of mackerel. It's actually a bit of mackerel from one that I caught earlier this summer. So still relatively fresh. So yeah, we'll get this one unhooked. We'll get those rods back out. Hopefully get a few more. Well, something different. Little flatfish. This one's a dab, so they're easily sort of differentiated between a flounder, because if you rub your fingers down a dab, it will feel rough all the way up, nice and evenly. If you do that with the flounder, it's actually smooth. So you can see that took a massive baby calamari. Yeah, greedy little things, these. There, although that's undersized, we'll get this one back. Yeah, pretty little fish. Well, that's the end of the session. Not too prolific, only the 2 fish, so we've got 1 whiting, 1 dab today. But hopefully, you picked up some tips, seeing how I tend to approach things when I'm down here fishing on the North Norfolk coast. This time of year, it's always about whiting and flatties. It's a little bit of a change time for us up here. So, yeah, until next time, tight lines, and I'll catch you soon.